Welcome to another episode of Uncle Bob's Workshop. As you can see, today we're in the kitchen instead of the workshop. And that's because today we're going to do some baking. You see, the missus usually makes the holiday cookies and stuff, but she was having some trouble with her rheumatism. So she made an appointment to go see the doctor. And on the way she slipped on the ice, and then she hurt her back, and now her lumbago is really bad. So she's been sitting in the chair all week. And that made her sciatica act up. And on top of that, she has her bursitis. It always gives her so much trouble. So I'm going to do the cooking. We're going to try to make, let's see, her famous spinach pie. And I think we're going to try and make a couple different kinds of cookies. So we'll see how that goes today. Now I don't want to get my clothes all dirty, so I'm going to put on an apron. Unfortunately, the only apron I can find is one from the missus here. It looks a little girly, but I think I can do it for her. Now, since we have a lot of cooking to do, I made a nice pot of really strong coffee, and it should be about ready. Let me see. That looks very good. That should be good coffee, yeah. So the first thing we're going to do is make the dough for her raspberry Linzer cookies, because that has to refrigerate for a couple hours so it gets nice and firm. So the first thing we're going to do is make the dough for her raspberry Linzer cookies, because that has to refrigerate for a couple hours so it gets nice and firm. Now the first thing we have to do is to chop the almonds and the hazelnuts into very small bits. One way to do that is to take a knife, I think, and just chop and chop and chop until we go. You have to watch your fingers though. Another way to do it would be to take the hatchet and to keep chopping this way, because that way you're less likely to chop your fingers, I think, with the hatchet. So, okay, now that's pretty good. Now, if you do it right, there should be no pieces that are bigger than, say, a thousandth, maybe 2/1000ths of an inch, and that's pretty good. And now we'll just add in our flour to the mix, and we'll add in some sugar. Okay, well now the recipe is calling for 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. I think we can use this device here. I don't know what you call it. I think the wife calls it a box grater. And we're going to rub the lemon on the grater and get the zest. You see, the zest of the lemon. Ooh, what's a zesty lemon? And we'll collect the zest. And we'll collect the zest from the grater the best we can. A lot of it's hiding on the inside there, you know, it doesn't want to come out. Okay, so now we can add a few more things. Maybe a half a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of the cloves. Not too much cloves. Cloves is very strong. And we're going to cut the butter into very small pieces, so that it will mix well with everything else we have going here. And now we're just going to mix that in nicely in the bowl. And we're going to mix that very well until all the butter is mixed up very smoothly, which will take a little bit. And we're mixing. Oh, we're mixing everything. Good coffee. Okay, so that's looking very good now. It's nice and smoothly combined with the flour. So then we need to whisk together an egg and some water, but I prefer to use this newfangled contraption that I just found at the store. I love this thing. And we're going to mix that in with the flour nicely until it just holds together. And that has gathered nicely into a ball. And so we're going to take it, wrap it up, and put it in the refrigerator for a couple hours to get nice and firm. Okay, so far so good. So now we're going to move on to the Hungarian cookies and get the dough for that going so we can refrigerate also. But first we're going to add the flour like before. And we'll add in the butter. And some cream style cottage cheese and some corn syrup and a little vanilla. And then we mix until a nice dough forms in there, like so. It just takes a while to get started. And again, when a nice ball of dough forms, we'll take it out and wrap it up in plastic wrap, like so. And put that in the refrigerator also for maybe a couple hours. Looks good. While those are in the refrigerator, I was going to also try to make the Mrs. Famous Ginger Cookies. So for that, we need another cup of butter. Put that. And of course, the sugar. And the brown sugar. About 3/4 a cup. And we need an egg in there. Oh, almost forgot. Got to crack the egg, you know. Very nice. I just love the molasses. And next we gotta add in the flour. And we put in the cinnamon. And now the ginger. Need lots of ginger. A couple tablespoons full. Oh, that's good. And we're just gonna mix that up too, just like so. Nice and smooth cookie dough. Okay, now while all that is cooling in the refrigerator, we'll go ahead and start making our spinach pie. Well, luckily, before her mishap, the missus took the phyllo dough out of the freezer and it's been cooling in the refrigerator. So now we have to let it sit out at room temperature for a couple hours. And then you're going to chop the onions, and you know, you don't have to be too pretty with it because it's not going to show in the end. So we're just going to chop them up really nicely here, you know. Right. Good. Good. So we want to get the pieces maybe to about a quarter, half an inch. A half an inch is a good size, you know. So a little more chopping and then we'll be ready. We're going to take those onions and we'll put them in a pot on the stove. We'll screw them like they're maybe translucent, you know. Translucent, that's, you know what that means? That's what we're going for. We're going to mix in the frozen chopped spinach, like so. Oh, sorry. And then we have the dry sherry, but of course this recipe does not call for any sherry, so we won't be using that. So then we're going to put in some oregano and maybe some basil. No need to be stingy with the stuff, it doesn't hurt. Need lots of eggs for spinach pie. And then we need something like about 18 cubic inches of the feta cheese. Yeah, very nice. That's really good. Okay, well now it's time to start assembling the pie. We must carefully unroll the phyllo dough, as not to break it into little pieces. So now we're going to separate it into one layer at a time and put it into each of the pans, like so. Then on each layer we're going to take the butter and we're going to spread out some butter. It's hard at first, it gets easier after it gets stuck to the pan a bit more. And we'll spread. Then we're going to put down another layer, just like so. And we put down more butter. It's easy, you know. Dough, butter. You just have to keep it straight so you don't put like butter down twice and dough on twice or something like that. So now we can continue on and put on the topping the same way. You have to be a little careful. Okay, now the pies look really good, so we can pop them into the oven. Here, and make little balls. Perhaps about this big, maybe a little bit bigger. That's a good size for a cookie. Right? Okay, and then we'll put that into the other oven. Well, they're nice big cookies. In the meantime, we're going to start working with the Linzer cookies. And we have to roll that dough out to be 3/16 of an inch thick. Very carefully though. And then we want to cut out the cookies to just the right size. And on half of them, for the tops, we have to have a hole just the right size in the top. So that's what we're going to do here on half of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on 3.5 of them, we make a hole. Yep, that's just right. Yep. The baked cookies look pretty good. They're just slightly brown. We take about 1/2 teaspoon of raspberry jelly and spread it across the bottom cookie like so. You can recognize the bottom cookie because it has no hole in it. And you put the cookie on top, like so. Oh, and that's a beautiful Linzer cookie. And they both look very yummy. And there's some of the finished Linzer cookies. We're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to roll it out nice and flat and thin. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, about like so. A little bit of the strawberry jelly on there from last summer. So good. And now we're going to take some nuts and we're just going to sprinkle the chopped nuts on top of the cookie dough. And then we're going to cut it into 8 pieces, okay? Just like a pizza pie, you know? And then we're going to take each one and roll them up like a jelly roll. Yeah, it's good. And make a little bend in it like so, and we put it on our tray. Then we're going to put the doughs into the oven for a while and see. Well, the coffee's gone and the cookies are done. So all in all, a very successful day baking. The cookies look good. Just look at those. So, until next time, thank you for watching another episode of Uncle Bob's Workshop. Tune in again. Happy holidays!